Hey guys, what's up? So we've got a brand new Forbidden Unlimited list which has been out as of April 1st, 2020, and I just wanted to cover kind of my thoughts on how this, what I think of this new list. So the brand new Forbidden cards are Blackwing Steam the Cloak. This is banned because you can actually recycle it every time it goes to the graveyard. You get a token, you can actually tribute that token to bring this card back. It's a tuner monster, which means you can essentially just keep recycling it to go into multiple synchro monsters, and it's kind of a staple within some of these synchro spam decks. So it's very easy to see why this card is banned. Also, a lot of the Blackwing cards are quite powerful anyway, and it's maybe slightly too powerful to be having within the main game. The next card is Destrudo, the Last Dragon's Frisson. So this is again because it can actually be brought back from the graveyard at the cost of half your life points, and it can be used for tuning as well. This is why this is being banned to avoid synchro spamming. I can see Konami's point. They don't really like that kind of thing. They would rather you actually come up with your own individual combos rather than relying on the same boring kind of tactics. This is why I can consider why it's being banned rather than being limited. The slight problem with that is what can you kind of replace it with? As of yet, there's nothing that comes to mind. But you know, it is what it is. Glow Up Bulb, well, that's been on and off the Forbidden list. It's been limited, semi-limited, on and off for a number of years now, ever since it was introduced. It's a plant-based tuner monster, like the other two. Because it's a tuner monster which can be recovered from the graveyard back onto the field. It's been responsible for a number of different Synchro Turbo base decks, and it's why it's kind of sitting on the ban list now. Lunalight Tiger is used to fusion summon lots of different monsters, so within the Lunalight deck, so it's being abused as well. And Spiral Master Plan, I'm not quite sure why that's on there, and I think it being one of the stronger cards within their deck is why they probably needed to restrict it. As for the limited cards, the Dangers, Jackalope and Sukanoko, well, both of those all the Dangers tend to be kind of very easy to abuse. They can actually be recovered, they can be special summoned to the field very easily and be used for synchro monsters or exceeds monsters quite easy, so that's kind of why they're on there. Konami doesn't like, too much spamming of these types of cards. ABC Dragon Buster hasn't really been doing that much. Having one of it isn't so much of an issue, because if your opponent is able to deal with it, they have no way of bringing it back, really, so I can see why they kind of limited that from that standpoint. TCG Hyper Librarian. This is an interesting card. It's had variations where it's been banned or limited in the past as well. This is also to do with this is to do with synchro abusing, because every time you synchro summon, and whilst this card's on the field, you basically draw a card. So you're drawing multiple cards within a turn, and so by hopefully sticking to one, you can't go into too many of your Quasar Dragons or the various other high-level 12 synchro monsters, which usually once they're summoned, you can't really defeat your opponent. Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, I don't see why that's limited. However, its ability to kind of remove a card from your opponent's hand, field, and graveyard could be considered too powerful. Again, this is a synchro monster, so it's to do with this whole synchro abusing problem. Totally awesome. It has the ability to negate, and this kind of effect can be a bit too powerful from certain standpoints. So I can see why that's being removed. Dryden has also seen a bit more play. It's one of the key cards within the deck, and so obviously once that went to unlimited at some point, people had been abusing it, so Konami's decided, okay, we'll let you play one card. Instant Fusion, again, is a card that tends to be abused very badly. It's used to bring out level 5s, which then, you can either go into a rank 5, or you can go usually into a level 8 monster through tuning. Mind Control is a bit of the same. Even though you can't tribute the monster you take from your opponent, it's very much an issue of that you can use it for synchro summoning, fusion summoning, or exceed summoning. So in the past, where you didn't have any of these mechanics, that wasn't so much of an issue, but now there are so many other ways of using this particular card. Barrage is also another one of those cards that's used within the Zodiac deck, and is very powerful for what it does. As for the 17 limited cards, Destiny Hero Malicious, this being a 2-of means that you can only really use its effect once. Basically what it does is, when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to summon another Malicious, so you can't keep abusing this kind of situation. There's a type of, it's one of these pot cards, I think it's Pot of Acquisitiveness or something like that, where it can actually recover a banished monster back to the deck in order for you to draw a card. So there's that whole interaction with actually being able to use Malicious more than a couple of times. Skystriker Mecha Widow Anchor is also one of those cards which has been seen as one being overly abused. As for the unlimited cards, so Deep Sea Diva, this does have a bit of an issue because it has also been used in synchro spam decks. However, it's not currently being used that much of. I don't know whether they'll interactions with this card will be any different from what it was. Necroface coming back. This card is used within a lot of banished decks, so Grin Magidisa, some of the Helios decks as well. Generally, it's seen for those types of plays, so it's not too bad having it unlimited for the time being. However, I can see it being easily abused. It's also used sometimes within deck thinning or deck out decks as well. Spiral Gear Drone, it's another one of these spiral monsters. I suppose if you're going to get rid of one, bringing a different one back might be more of a balance, because one might be able to go into the other more easily. And so if you restrict one, you can bring some of the others back. And Pot of Avarice is unlimited as well. I can kind of see the point in that even though you're recovering your monsters from the graveyard, and they go back to your deck and you draw a couple of cards. I could see Konami revising this in the future. I think most people aren't going to be stupid enough to use more than 1 or 2. At 3, it's definitely going to brick in your hand, and it requires you to have 5 monsters in your graveyard. So at each point you're using this, you could potentially need to have about 15 monsters if you're going to try and fully abuse this card, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. So what do you think of the ban list? Is this something you were looking forward to? Did you think we weren't going to get a ban list because of the whole situation at the moment? Leave your comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe.